Easy, bro.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh and welcome. And thank you for tuning into the FAQ podcast, a podcast established by the Aspire Promotion brand. And compliments to the Starlet venue for having us here today. My name is Zakir Adams. This is the podcast dealing with frequently asked questions in Cape Town, South Africa, and the world. We want to discuss subjects like, how do I find happiness in my workplace? How do I manage my children? What can I do as a modern individual and a modest person, and of course Muslims? What can we do to find direction and navigate our messy lives? Today's subject, and over the next few episodes, we'll be discussing a very, very important subject of our lives, and that is, how do I find a partner? How do I find a spouse? In Cape Town, in South Africa, and in just general. We're here today with Aspire Promotion Director, and Events Planner, Abdul Basir Kolbi, and Imtiaz Hendricks, professional in the field of psychology and life coaching. Guys, how are we doing today?
Alhamdulillah, all good.
Very good, very good. Thank
Great
you
to
for
be
having
here.
us.
Yeah.
First episode of FAQ.
First episode. What an honor.
And it's been a lifelong dream. Coming now to reality. Thank you to of course Aspire Promotions and everything they've done for this movement. And yeah, we're gonna discuss a very important discussion. I know a lot of viewers, they tune in because they know we're talking about the halal speed dating that has happened over the last 2-3 months in Cape Town and the rest of South Africa. We'll be discussing that. We'll be discussing a little bit more than that, because I would like to build up a context of what we're talking about here. It's not just, that happened and why did it happen. There's a journey, there's a journey of why anybody do anything. That's the reality of everything, what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so, guys, let's talk a little bit, before I want to open up the discussion about halal speed dating, I just want to talk about what's happening. What is your perception of what's happening in Cape Town, South Africa, between our Muslim communities, in our general communities, other faiths included? What's happening when it comes to finding a partner and finding a spouse, or just that general topic?
Zakir, I think that question, it's very powerful.
That's a
powerful
that's a
question.
nice
I would
one,
hope
you
so.
can say.
Because we are all confused. How do we find the perfect partner? And many would say no one is perfect.
Yeah.
But we all have our expectations.
Definitely.
Correct. And if our expectations are not going to be met within someone else, then where do we find ourselves? So the first thing we look at is we look at various characteristics of individuals. And we find out, I'm looking for beauty, I'm looking for piety, I'm looking for...
And these are all guidelines to set as a Muslim in our religion.
Yes, for sure. And the general population, we all look at beauty as one of the main characteristics. But is it only that?
Definitely not.
So
He's love blind.
is love
Love is
blind.
Blind. That's the Netflix series. Love is Blind, right?
Oh, I never knew. TM.
Yeah. So I think what we need to look at is how do we fine tune our selection? When we look at spouses, where do we actually go for guidance? Where do we go for platforms that there are so many selections that are with pure intentions?
Yeah.
That's important.
I wouldn't want you to indulge too much with what we know what Aspire has been doing over the last few months. But just again, going back to what you said, navigating and selection, all of these things, and I must say, a lot of those subjects of what you're talking about has been established in our culture, and that's been given to us from whether it's our father, our mother, or aunties, or just our communities, small or big, school, all of these things. These are the things that was the architect in how we think about when we think about partners. You know what I'm saying? And then that's the point. Imtiaz, maybe you can indulge a little bit more. Like, what is, when it comes to these type of things, what do you see as a positive from the past? Things that your family introduced into your life when it comes to how you find a partner. Or,
You know,
you already
what
married. Just with the
look, my mind's going to one particular event.
Yeah.
When you're referring to,
Take us
we
there.
are influenced. Nah,
Take us
this is actually quite intense. I never thought about this for a few years. When you asked what influences a person when you are looking for someone, right? Some of us, we maybe have non-verbal gestures from our parents, from our friends,
Oh,
teachers. So there was one particular moment I remember, right?
Yeah.
I'm not even sure,
Yeah.
you know, like to be so open about this particular event. Because I went to my parents one and there was, you know, somebody that I was just exploring
Yeah.
options,
Yeah.
right? I never told Malika about the story.
Why are you
so
doing
that's
that?
really-
I'm exploring now.
Oh, but look, yes. Okay, yeah. Okay, so that's obviously a bracket that we try to work within,
Yeah.
right? But I'm talking more of like, because you know, remember as a childhood and as a young childhood and teenager, you think about the concept of what is halal, but you also extend it in some events beyond that, you know, because you're young, you're learning and you're growing and you're wanting to understand things.
Yeah.
And that is why it's so important for you to be held in the right manner,
Definitely.
considering where your, you know,
Attention.
halal parameters are working. And that has to do with the people that are
Yeah.
rearing you. But nonetheless, I do remember one conversation. Oh, it was very long ago. I was very young. You know, so I don't want Malika to feel. You know, yeah, I never told him about this, you know. But I was like, we were just sort of having a casual conversation
Yeah.
in the lounge,
Okay.
right? And my parents were there. I was probably like still in primary school, you know, maybe a little bit older. But then I was like, what about this person? You know, they knew whatever.
Yeah.
And then they were like, no, she don't wear a scarf.
Whoa.
No. They were like, you studying Hifz. You learning the Quran.
Oh, I got
Right?
that. And I feel you.
So now it was like, where's the sense of deen here?
Yeah.
You know? And it's almost like the entire conversation in my mind ended there in terms of exploring that option, which I found to be quite interesting. You know, especially now when I think back on that particular moment, you know, it's like mentally I never pursued it. You know, I never envisioned that any longer based on that conversation. But I think that it was mostly because of the relationship I had with my parents at the
Definitely.
time. Whereas had it not been that tight-knitted relationship, I would not have regarded their opinions and conditions in what I need to look for.
Where you look at it.
Yes.
So that was quite, you know,
That's powerful.
interesting.
So I think
I mean,
that-
your father's also from the ulama. I can imagine his influence on your household.
Do we
when it comes
expose
to-
biology
No.
of the market that early?
No,
Yeah,
but coming
so-
out of a house, you know, where your father's one of the leaders when it comes to our communities and our Muslim communities, and you know, teaching the CC's life, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What has been your guidelines when it comes to?
Well, my father was one of my main guidelines, you know, growing up. My guidance for many things, you know, but also my grandfather and my family at large. So, I mean, growing up in an Islamic background from young, studying abroad, growing
Yeah,
up in a foreign country, all these elements of teachings were taught to me, and that was one of my deciding factors, you know, to always look at my upbringing, you know, having the religious consciousness of my decisions that I will be making, you know, especially in choosing a partner, you know. I remember when I started, you know, seeking companionship as early as matric age, you know, I'd say maybe prior to matric. I don't think matric, I'd say from grade 10 maybe.
It's way before
Yeah. So it started there, and you're looking for a good, you know, partner, you know, and my father would always say, you know, go to the house, go to the home, meet the family, and that's it. You'd be happy if there's always supervision of the family or the parents.
Okay,
Whenever
okay.
we used to go meet, you know, friends, you know,
Yeah.
and we sit in the lounge and we have a cup of tea, or whatever is, you know, available snacks and so forth. But importantly, I would always have that support from my father. He would drop me, you know, at many homes, should I say?
Yeah.
But it's part of the journey, you know. He entrusted me that I would know what is right and what is
Yeah.
wrong, you know.
That's an
And-
important word, the trust.
Yes. And alhamdulillah, today I'm 8 years
Alhamdulillah.
married with not the first person I met though, but it took a journey to get
So,
there.
I mean, you said you went to a few homes, but why that particular? What made you decide on that?
On that home.
Yeah.
The one that I'm with now, currently.
Currently,
Yeah, so
permanently.
permanently, subhanallah. But yes, why? Why? It's a really good question.
I remember there were some time ago you told us there was this picture that you saw upon arrival. What was that picture?
Yes.
I like hearing the story.
So when I was in grade 11 at that time, and this is where I met my wife, you know, going to her home. And I remember when Zakir mentioned earlier, before the episode streamed live,
Yeah.
he asked a very important question: how do you find love? And I said, you know, buy a bubbly and appetizer. And you take that for your first interest.
you had
know.
that in your
So I
hand.
had the bubbly and the appetizer on my first arrival. And met the family, the parents. The wife was standing outside, or not the wife at that time,
Yeah.
but she was standing outside.
Potential spouse.
My spouse, yes. And she was sweeping the stoopy, cleaning up, you know. And
Like Cinderella effect.
and she never expected me to come at early because she didn't want me to catch her in the act of cleaning, you know, with a broom in the hand. And that told me, you know, that's the wife that's always in the cleaning my home. That's the one.
Ajib,
That's a dangerous statement. You're probably going to be hearing a lot from the comments.
I would love to hear.
Alhamdulillah, 8 years married. But that was a very good journey that I had, you know. And ever since that time, I always told, in fact, a friend of mine that brought me there, he said, he asked me, how did it go? I said, my brother, this is the one. He said, what? On the first day? How did you just know? I said, no, this is the one. She had all the characteristics, you know, that the Prophet ﷺ encouraged us to look at, you know.
Subhanallah.
And that is the righteousness, the family lineage, Islamically inclined, the beauty.
Yeah.
And what more could you ask for?
You know what's crazy is that like you explaining this, like the
Yeah.
in part, and I'm like, how is it that all your things that you wanted aligned with what Rasulullah wanted for us to look at?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not difficult to understand because that is how you were reared. You know, that is how your
Yeah.
father from the get-go. And it's not just that's the important part. I can make this assumption that he wasn't a man that just introduced that theories when it comes to spouses and marriage. He introduced that in everything, man. When it comes to even the way you eat, the way you sit, the way you talk to people, the way you talk to older people. You know, these are the things that build your character and where you end up and how you make that choice. And that's also an important thing. And I think about the previous generation, you know, sometimes they wouldn't focus their attention on giving you the necessary information so that my mother said it correctly, but they wouldn't necessarily give you the information of how to find a partner, but they will instill values in you that it makes it easy for others to see you as a partner. So my mother always said, like, she always, my great grandmother mentioned always that you don't raise your child for yourself, man. You raise your child for everybody else in the sense of a community. So you have to instill those principles, you know, so that your child can go out there and make a good decision. And I mean, that is you, as long as you secure the foundation as a parent. I mean, we're discussing parenthood now, but I mean, if you, as long as you're securing that foundation, you know, you make dua and you pray that the choices after that will just find blessing, man. You know, and then I think that's a lot of how the previous generations worked when it came to finding a spouse and things like that. I must mention, you know, the same grandmother I was speaking about now, she passed away a few years back. I always remember, like, she couldn't even like recite Quran like very well, man. Like in the sense of besides the tajweed being out, like it was just struggling with small and like the understanding how the letters look, you know, and is that a ba, is that a ta. So they didn't have much, you know. And I mean, many of the viewers can probably tell you the same thing about their grandparents. I mean, Cape Town is only over 300 years of deen here. That's a short amount of time. Even though it's long for South Africa, that's a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And we don't have to go that far back to find people in our histories, our grandmothers or ancestors, that the religious knowledge is very minimum compared to now, man.
Yeah.
You know, what is it, what we exposed to now.
Yeah.
And what's amazing for me about her was that whatever that was, the foundation of her iman, man, and her conviction in if I do right, I will find right.
Yeah.
One guy actually had this really good example. A close friend of mine, also a student of Dina Maulana. He had another friend of his. Young guy, his father passed away. He looked after his mother. All his life, he just focused on looking after his mother, and he got married. After a few years, it took some time to get married. He got married, and then when he got married, he found like a very learned woman and a very beautiful soul, that type of thing. And then he was very happy. And my colleague asked him like, how did you meet her? Where did you meet her? He got like, I don't even know how. I don't even know. Like it's days to me how it happened. But all I can advise people is like, look after your mother. Like that's the system of what we realize when you of Islam and the system of Allah in finding a partner. I can just give that advice that just look after the things that you are in control of, and then those opportunities will come easily, man. And that's what I'm saying about the previous generation. And the fact that we could, alhamdulillah, we all three, I know, we all, the two of you both have parents that are still together. You know, that's a mad achievement on its own already in this day and age, to find parents that still. I'm the eldest of 10. You know, my parents, same mother, same father, still together. That's, you don't hear these things, man. But like I'm saying, I think if the foundation is
But
set,
based on that, what for someone now listening to this,
Yeah.
and they think, yo, but my parents got it when I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
How do they take on this information?
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
but that's
that-
why I'm saying, like, you understand that the focus shouldn't be necessarily always the partner, man. That the focus should be the self. That's what I started from when I began on this rant. You know, like that we start from understanding that's how their parents raised them. Start in the self. Unfortunately, we live in a very influential world when it comes to, you know, what we exposed to with the media and West and all of these things. But if we solidify our home, you know what I'm saying, that comes with finding a good partner, of course. But from there, we can just project even better things, man. You know, divorce, of course, we know talaq in Islam is not something that's frowned upon. It's allowed. It's something that is not the best of things, you know, but it is there and it's existing. But that doesn't mean that has to be the end of the road for you, man. You know what I'm saying? So the focus, like going back to the points, getting quite deep here, I can feel the weight of the air just dropping on me. But what I can say for like, we're going to discuss again further on finding love in Cape Town and finding a spouse, you know. I think the bottom line, as we're going to go on all the episodes, we're going to speak about at the start with yourself, you know, and I think that is also a big part of what makes the project of Aspire Promotion, the halal speed dating, and that concept and that program and everything that's introduced, what I've been exposed to, what makes it so interesting, man. You know, whether, you know, we will get there, whether the discussion of it works or doesn't work, or if it's haram, it's halal, everybody have their opinions, seems to be. The truth is that it's touching on subjects that's very important in our communities with regards to the self.
Yeah.
And once you got one, it's not that you get that right. It's about once you start that journey, once I start making effort on myself, that's when the outcomes can be positive and will be positive. Right,
100%. Looking forward to that discussion.
Mm.
Looking forward to the discussion.
Yeah, it's gonna go deep, boys. It's gonna go deep. Thank you for tuning in. This is Dakir Adams. Shukran, guys, for coming. I'll see you on the next one.